Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the National Timely Action Hour podcast. This is the show where we talk about everything from comic books to Doctor Who and everything in between. My name is Aidan, and I hope that you're doing well today. This is Season 4, Episode 21, the penultimate episode of this season, and in this episode, I would like to rank the Doctors from the TV show Doctor Who. Now, I've talked about this before, but Doctor Who is one of my favorite TV shows, and I've done a few episodes of this podcast talking about it, and I've also talked about it on my main YouTube channel, the National Timely Action Hour, on youtube.com. So please feel free to subscribe there to get videos about Doctor Who and Marvel Comics, DC Comics, Star Wars, Star Trek, video games, The Lord of the Rings, and anything else nerdy that I enjoy. And if you're new to this show, please subscribe and share it with your friends if they're interested in this sort of content. I post this on Spotify.com and YouTube.com. And in the YouTube version, I'll leave a link to my main YouTube channel as well as my social media profile so you can stay up to date and send me a message. I have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, and Discord. And I'll also leave a link to my merch store, so if you'd like to buy a shirt or a coffee mug with my show's logo on it, then please feel free to check that out. And I'll also leave a link to my Patreon page, so if you'd like to get early access to episodes and read my original writing projects and get Patreon exclusive posts, please consider supporting me there. And without any further ado, let's get into this. So with number 1 being my all-time favorite and number 18 being my least favorite, these are my personal rankings of the Doctors from Doctor Who. 19. So at number 19, we have the Meta-Crisis Doctor, played by David Tennant, who appeared in the finale of Season 4 of the revival of Doctor Who. And the reason why he's at the bottom of the barrel is because he's a plot device, and I don't really enjoy it. And I don't really count it as a regeneration, but the show does, so that's why it's at the bottom. Then at number 18, we have David Tennant as the 14th Doctor. Again, I am not the biggest fan of it because at this point they were just like, we need to get David Tennant to come back to the show to get people to come back to watch it, because even though I really enjoyed the 13th Doctor, a lot of people stopped watching the show during her run. And so they're like, we need to get people back and we need to bring new people in, but mainly get, the old viewers back. So they called David Tennant and Russell T Davies, who was the head writer when David first played the Doctor, and Catherine Tate, who played one of his assistants. So they're like, okay, we need to bring these 3 back, and I don't like that. And he was the Doctor for the 3 episodes that they did to celebrate the show's 60th anniversary, and they were okay. They're not my favorite episodes, but I do find enjoyment in them. But I am not the biggest fan of the 14th Doctor. Then at number 17, unfortunately, I have to put Richard E. Grant, who played the Schalke Doctor. He was originally the official 9th Doctor, but then that was superseded when the show was officially brought back, because he played the 9th Doctor, or a version of the 9th Doctor, in an animated 6-part serial, and that was to celebrate the show's 40th anniversary, but the show had already been canceled back in the 80s, but they wanted to do something for the 40th anniversary. And so they made a 6-part story that was animated, and Richard E. Grant did the voice acting for the 9th Doctor in that version. But then the show was brought back with Christopher Eccleston being now the official 9th Doctor. And so that was not canon for a while, but Now it's nebulous, and the best way to describe it is multiverse BS. And I know that a lot of people, especially in nerd culture, are tired of multiverse stories, but in a show about time travel, you're going to get a lot of that. And I did enjoy Richard E. Grant's performance. It's just that, it's not as strong as other actors on this list. Then at number 16, we have Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor. Now, to be completely honest, at the time of recording, I have yet to see his final season, but I did enjoy his performance in his first season, and I think that he is a fine actor, and the only other thing that I've seen him in is the live-action Barbie movie, and I thought he was okay in that. I mean, he was only there for like 2 or 3 scenes, but he did a decent job there, and he was a decent enough Doctor. It's just that, I haven't seen his entire run, so I can't fully judge him. But, yeah, I think that he is going places because he's, only a few years older than me, so he's still young, and he's still breaking out into the big time in the industry, because before that he was on a few other shows, but, side characters and minor roles. So now that he's been the lead in a popular TV show, and he was in the Barbie movie, that will definitely open a lot of doors for him. Then at number 15, we have Jo Martin as the Fugitive Doctor. To be completely honest with you, I don't like her inclusion, but that's not Jo Martin's fault. I think that she is a good actress. Again, I haven't seen her in too many things, but with the few things that I have seen her in, I think she's very talented, and I've seen a few interviews with her, and she seems, very nice, and she was very enthusiastic about the role as the Doctor. But again, the way that the whole setup of her version of the Doctor, I do not like it one bit, and I've gone on record saying that before. I can make an entire episode delving into why. If you'd like me to, then please leave a comment telling me to do that. I'd be happy to oblige you. It's just I don't want to get into it right now. But yeah, I thought she was good in the role, and yeah, not much else to say. Then at number 14, we have Sir John Hurt as the War Doctor. Again, not the biggest fan of how we got him to play the Doctor and why, but they had, a pretty, dire situation, so I get it. But Sir John Hurt was one of the greatest actors of his generation, and he played the Doctor in 2 episodes, and he had a few audiobooks that he did as well, and he was great. And yeah, I really enjoyed his performance, even though I don't like the inclusion of, the deviation of the original numbering of the Doctors. But again, beggars cannot be choosers. Then at number 13, we have Peter Capaldi, who played the 12th Doctor. He's a great actor, and I, again, haven't seen much of his career outside of Doctor Who, but what I have seen, I have enjoyed. But he didn't get the best scripts, and, Stephen Moffat, who was the head writer during this time, is a very good writer. It's just that a lot of the execution of his stories don't gel well with me, and that same criticism of not having the best scripts can be said for various different incarnations of the Doctor. This has been a debate that we've been having forever, since the show began, really. But I think he's a good actor, and he has some really good episodes. But Moving on to number 12, we have Paul McGann as the 8th Doctor. Now, the only reason why I have him so low on the list is because he was only in so few on-screen performances. The majority of his work come from the audiobooks, and he is fantastic in those. And honestly, if we were just going based off of the audiobooks, he'd be near the top, if not the top place. But, in terms of on-screen performances, he was in the movie, and he had a mini episode for the 50th anniversary, and then he appeared in the 13th Doctor's final episode briefly for a couple of scenes. He's great. He's a wonderful actor. It's just because of his so few on-screen performances as the Doctor, I have to have him this low. But again, he's slightly better than the others, in my personal opinion, that I have on the lower side of this list. But moving on to number 11, we have Colin Baker, who played the 6th Doctor. Again, he did not have good scripts, but that's because he was sabotaged by the producers and the people higher up at the BBC. Colin Baker is a fantastic actor, honestly. If I were alive in the 80s and watching Doctor Who, I would have been very excited for him to be cast. But again, the behind-the-scenes drama and all that. But again, he was redeemed with the audiobooks because he has gone on to do so many amazing stories in his role as Doctor Who. And I'm sure if he were given better TV scripts, it would have been a much different story, but here we are now. But yeah, I think he's a really good actor who did a good job with what he was given. Then at number 10, we have Christopher Eccleston as the 9th Doctor. He only had one season. Colin Baker only had 2 seasons. Ncuti Gatwa only had 2 seasons. But Christopher had better scripts. I'm sorry to say it, he had better scripts for the TV show. And he started doing the audiobooks a couple of years ago. And I've only listened to one, but I really enjoyed it. And yeah, he is a fantastic actor, except for Thor 2. No one could have saved that movie. But, with the exception of the behind-the-scenes drama, which led to him quitting after one season, if he had stayed on, it would have been very different, and it would have been very interesting to see how that would have played out. But I don't have a TARDIS, so I can't see alternate dimensions. But he was a really good actor who did a really good job in the role. Then at number 9, we have Matt Smith, who played the 11th Doctor. And I really, really enjoy Matt Smith as an actor. He, especially nowadays, he's really flexing his creative muscles, and he's getting a lot of great roles. But I first knew him as Doctor Who, as did many people, and I thought he was really good. Again, Stephen Moffat as the head writer, some of the scripts weren't the best, but Matt really, really sold it with his charisma and his talent as an actor and his screen presence as he matured in the role. Because when he started out, he was pretty young. He was the youngest person to play the Doctor up until that point. And again, he didn't really become that famous until he got this role. I mean, he had, various different TV roles, and I'm sure he had a few minor roles in movies, but when he was cast as Doctor Who, he really blew up in popularity, and he matured in his craft while he was playing the Doctor, and you can really tell. And you can really tell that he got a much bigger screen presence during this time, and I really appreciate that he was given that opportunity. Then at number 8, we have David Tennant as the 10th Doctor. And yeah, he's just great as this version of the Doctor, and he had great scripts, and he's one of the longest serving actors. Not just in terms of his original tenure, but now that he's come back for a couple of the anniversaries, and I just really, really enjoyed his performance as the 10th Doctor. And then at number 7 we have Peter Davison as the 5th Doctor. Ironically enough, Peter Davison is David Tennant's father-in-law, because David Tennant met Peter Davison's daughter on the set of Doctor Who. They started dating, and now 20 years later they are happily married with children, and they seem to be very happy, and I'm proud of them for that. But Peter Davison is an underrated Doctor in my personal opinion, because he's overshadowed by some of the Doctors that came before. He's definitely overshadowed by the Doctors that came before and some of those that came after him, but I really, really enjoyed his performance. And especially with the audiobooks, he's really, really sold me. I mean, I was already sold when I watched his episodes, but listening to the audiobooks just really hammer home how talented of an actor he is. And when he's given good scenes to chew on, he really chews on them, and he has great screen presence, and his banter with his castmates is always fun to see on behind the scenes stuff and in interviews, and I just really like his performance. Then at number 6 we have Sylvester McCoy as the 7th Doctor. McCoy is definitely one of the best actors to play this role. I mean, he's been in some of the biggest movies and biggest TV shows, and you can tell why, because he really gets lost in the role. Not in the same sense as like Christian Bale going method, but he just really he has a quality that about him that he really believes that he's this character, and you can believe that he is this character, and I don't know how else to describe it. He just gets lost in the role, and I really, really enjoy that. And again, with the audiobooks, he's really, really been able to stretch his acting muscles and show the Doctor, or at least his version of the Doctor, in various different scenarios that you could not do on TV in the 80s. And I just think that he is very well suited to the role, and he made it his own. This is going to be a bit of a controversial one, but at number 5 I have Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor. I love her performance. She is such a good actor, and again, not all of her scripts were amazing, but she really sold me, and her enthusiasm for the role, especially now that she is doing the audiobooks. Earlier this year, summer 2025, they released the first audiobook, and I listened to it and I loved it, and I'm going to do a review of it on youtube.com, so subscribe there, ring the bell to be notified so you'll know when I post that. But I haven't been keeping up with all of them because there have been a few that have been released since then, but that first audiobook, spectacular. But her episodes were really good, and her performance was very underrated in my opinion, and her chemistry with her castmates was really good, and she especially modernized the show not just in terms of being the first woman to play Doctor Who, but also the budget got bigger, and so they were able to actually film on locations. Like, they went to South Africa to film, they went to India to film, they went to England, Wales, the United States, all over the world, and they were able to, really increase the scale. Like, before that, you could tell, oh wow, the stakes are high in this story. But, they didn't have the budget for that. But when you're able to actually film in India, that just adds the extra bit of oomph that you need for the types of stories that they wanted to tell. And they managed to pull them off, for the most part, in my opinion. And yeah, I just think that not just in Doctor Who, but in all of the other things that I've seen her in, Jodie Whittaker is spectacular. She is wonderful. And I watched an interview with her that was promoting the first Doctor Who 13th Doctor audiobook, and she was just, the way she was talking about the role, you can tell she just loves playing it, and you can see in her performance and hear in her voice, she just loves being Doctor Who, and I love that about her. The same can be said about my fourth pick, aptly Tom Baker as the fourth Doctor. He loves playing Doctor Who, and he still does so to this day, even though he's in his 90s, and he first got the role back in the early 1970s. But Tom Baker is the actor who has played Doctor Who the longest, and he is just iconic and amazing. It's just that I believe his predecessors are slightly better. But Tom Baker is a great actor, and he has such screen presence. When he comes on screen, he commands the scene, and I absolutely love that. And his chemistry, especially with the late great Elizabeth Sladen, was superb. And yeah, not much else to say. Then at number 3, we have Jon Pertwee, who played the third Doctor. Now, again, he had great screen presence. He really commanded his scenes, and he had such swagger about him. And you can tell he was having a ball playing this role. And I love his banter, especially with Katie Manning, who played his assistant Josephine Grant. Love their dynamic, and I actually posted this on Twitter earlier this year about one of my favorite episodes of the Third Doctor's era, and I tagged Katie Manning in it, and she replied saying that she loves that story too, and I was just, that was a very heartwarming moment for me when I was able to have that communication with one of my favorite actors. And yeah, she's great as Jo, and John was fantastic as the third Doctor. He had really, really good writing, and even when the stories were not as good as the others, his talent and screen presence really sold it for me, and his charisma was just magnetic. Then at number 2, we have William Hartnell, who played the first Doctor. He was an amazing actor, and he really, really made you believe that he was this authoritative and, fatherly character. And he, sold you on the character's intelligence and his humor. William Hartnell wasn't just, a serious dramatic actor. He was in a lot of comedies, and he had great comedic timing, and he was just superb. And as the original actor to play this role, I have to give him his credit, but I believe that his successor, Patrick Troughton, as the second Doctor, was just slightly better. And, William Hartnell, Patrick Troughton, and Jon Pertwee were all friends, and they were in, movies together. And, when they worked together on the 10th anniversary episode, The Three Doctors, they had a blast, and you can tell doing it that they were having a blast doing it. And, yeah, I just loved them. It's just that I think that Patrick Troughton is my favorite because of his comedic timing, but he could turn serious at the snap of a finger, and he had such great screen presence, and he always did the physical stuff because William Hartnell was I believe at least a couple of years older than Patrick Troughton. Yeah, he was a few years, 10 or so years older than Troughton. So, but Patrick was always like running around the sets and flipping over things and tumbling down, and I mean he would make Fraser Hines, who played Jamie, his assistant, do most of the work, but he's like, Jamie, we've got to run away, and then he'd trip over something, and it would be funny. But yeah, Patrick Troughton is my favorite, but I think that they all have their own merits. But this is just my opinion. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments section. Let me know let me know your ranking for the Doctors, and without anything else to say, I just want to say thank you for listening to this episode of the National Timely Action Hour podcast. Once again, my name is Aidan, and have a wonderful day. Bye.